And we are back with part two of this week's Shabbat service for Waymaker Messianic Jewish and Christian Center USA. It is Saturday, May 29th, 2021 on the Gregorian calendar and Sivan 18 in the Hebrew year of 5781. And we have completed the Torah portion for this week. We are going to kind of do an overview here of what we have just read through, and then we will get into the Haftorah portion um, of this week, and then we will take a break, and then come back with the actual second segment, which will begin on part three of the uploads for this week's Shabbat service. So this is a busy Torah portion containing a number of legal and technical details, as well as stories. And we're told of the Levites' appointment as assistants to the priestly service in the celebration of Passover in the desert after the Exodus, and what happens if um, some are defiled during this time frame. There is a second Passover. Um, and then there's preparations and arrangements for travel are outlined. And there were two incidences where B'nai Israel expressed dissatisfaction, um, and how Adonai responded to that. Finally, we even learned that heroes, even biblical heroes, can make mistakes. And Moshe, Moses' siblings, actually did just that. They gossiped about Moses and complained about Moses because they were gossiping about Moses' marrying Zipporah. So we start with the appointment of the Levites. But Adonai instructed Aaron through Moses to kindle the menorah lamp in the tabernacle so that each light pointed toward the face of the menorah. And the menorah itself, we are reminded, it is hammered from a single piece of gold. There was a connection between Aaron and the story of Hanukkah hundreds of years later, when the Syrian Greeks sought to wipe out the Jews in the Holy Land. The Maccabees fought back, and this is part of history too. This is where we have the book of Maccabees, which are not in our Bible, but they are historical books, which give us the history. Miraculously defeating an enemy who greatly outnumbered them, the Maccabees, who were of priestly descent, searched high and low for pure olive oil with which to light the menorah. Their ancestor Aaron was commanded to light daily. Only one small vial containing enough oil to burn for one day remained, but it would take 8 days to procure more. And of course, with Hanukkah, well, this is why we light a candle, for 8 days. The Maccabees lit the lamp regardless, and another miracle occurred. The oil, that little minute amount of oil, continued to burn for all 8 days. So this worldwide, we light the Hanukkah candles for 8 days each year. We do this in commemoration of that time frame, and we do one candle. We add one candle a night. So the next 22 verses detail the sanctification. Getting back to the Torah portion, sanctification of the Levites for their work. Um, God selected the Levites to replace the firstborn sons in his service in the tabernacle, and he describes the ceremony of their appointment. So they are to be sprinkled with purifying water, and shaved, and their clothes are to be immersed. And they must bring 2 bulls as an offering, stand before the tent of meeting. B'nai Israel are to lay their hands on them too. Give and you see, when someone is ordained, there's always a laying of hands. When people are selected um, to be elders, what have you, laying of hands is done. Then Aaron is to wave the Levites as a wave offering. The Levites in turn place their hands upon the bull, which are then brought in as a sin offering and elevation offering as well. And the Torah relates that the dedication of the Levites is carried out as commanded. And Benaiah, uh, actually, the Levites serve in supporting role in the tabernacle from the age of 25 to 50. And this is what Adonai commanded. However, the Levites must not perform the work which is commanded to the priests. And we talk about the Passover in the desert. And again, if one is defiled, they cannot be in with the Passover. If they're defiled, of course, they have to be out of the camp for a prescribed period of time. So um, this was brought to Moses' attention that they want to be part of being able to do the Passover, and now what? If they can't come. So Moses said, "Wait, I will inquire of Adonai." So he didn't just go off and make a decision on his own. As I mentioned, he went to Adonai for the right decision um, in how to conduct this. So then we have Bnei Israel traveling the desert, and the silver trumpets for the assembling of the people and how they are to uh, be assembled and what they signified, and also from each camp and each how each camp is to proceed, in the order they're to travel actually. Then the people were complaining that they were complaining that they had all this good food in Egypt, and if they had just stayed in Egypt, they wouldn't be going through all of this. However, they were not starving. Their clothes were not wearing out. God took care of them. But he said, okay, fine, he would deal with that. Moses turned to God, and asking God at this point, why did you put this burden on me? Did I give birth to them? Am I going to be responsible for them till we get to where we're going? And God um, actually had him gather 70 wise men from each of the tribes, and that they would be sharing the burden, that he would take some of the ruach, some of his spirit that was all on Moses, and place divided out so that Moses would not have all of the burden. But then also he addressed what was going to happen as far as the quail, and that he was very angry with the people too, um, and actually brought a plague which actually did kill some of the people. Um, so the name of the place. It actually, the name that I had read, the Kibbutz Hatava, meant Kibbutz Hatava. It meant, in Hebrew, it means the graves of lust. And then we end this Torah portion with Miriam and Aaron speaking ill of Moses for marrying Zipporah, and God was very displeased with the disrespect that Miriam and Aaron showed towards Moses, who he called to lead these people. So Miriam was actually struck with leprosy, and Aaron is forced to, being the priest, the high priest, he's forced to diagnose his sister, and that meant that she had to go out of the camp. And Moses cried out to God, and what happened was Miriam had to go out of the camp uh, for the prescribed period of time, and then when she was purified, she was cleared. Um, then actually the entire camp of Bnei Israel waited for her to be purified. Then they moved on to the Paran Desert. So that is the end of the Torah portion. So we are going to continue on with Zechariah being our Haftorah portion. We're actually going to read Zechariah um, chapters 2 through 14 this week. 4 horns and 4 craftsmen. Then I lifted up my eyes, and behold, I saw 4 horns. I said to the angel speaking with me, "What are these?" He said to me, "These are the horns that have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem." Then Adonai showed me 4 craftsmen. I asked, "What are these coming to do?" He answered, "These are the horns that scattered Judah so that no one could raise his head, but the craftsmen have come to frighten them, to cast down the horns of the nations that have lifted up their horns against the land of Judah, to scatter it, measuring Jerusalem." I lifted up my eyes, and behold, I saw a man with a measuring line in his hand. I asked, "Where are you going?" He answered me, "To measure Jerusalem, to see how wide and how long it is." Then behold, the angel speaking with me left, and another angel went out to meet him, saying to him, "Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem will be inhabited as a village with walls because of the great number of men and livestock in it. It is a declaration of Adonai, will be a wall of fire around it, and I will be the glory inside it. Oi, oi, flee from the land of the north. It is a declaration of Adonai, because I scattered you like the 4 winds of heaven. It is a declaration of Adonai. Oi, Zion, escape, you who are living with the daughter of Babylon. For thus says Adonai Sabaoth, he has sent me after glory to the nations that plundered you, because whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake my hand against them, and they will plunder to their servants. Then you will know that Adonai Sabaoth has sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for behold, I am coming, and I will live among you. It is a declaration of Adonai. In that day, many nations will join themselves to Adonai, and they will be my people, and I will dwell among you. Then you will know that Adonai Sabaoth has sent me to you. Adonai will inherit Judah as his portion in the Holy Land, and will once again choose Jerusalem. Be silent before Adonai, all flesh, for he has aroused himself from his holy dwelling. This last portion is speaking of Yeshua, and Yeshua will do this again. He will live among us, and he will, you know, again choose Jerusalem. Yeshua is returning to Jerusalem. That is the city that he is coming to. And this is a very important statement here. Um, Given all the anti-Semitism going on right now, God has not turned his back on Israel, and he never will. This Israel is the firstborn, and he says, "For behold, because whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake my hand against them, and they will be plunder to their servants. Then you will know that Adonai Sabaoth has sent me." He would fight their battles. Joshua the Kohen Gadol. Then he showed me Joshua the Kohen Gadol standing before the angel of Adonai, and the Satan standing at his right hand to accuse him. Adonai said to the Satan, "Adonai rebukes you, the Satan. Indeed, Adonai, who has chosen Jerusalem, rebukes you. It is not this man. It is not this man a brand plucked out of the fire?" Now Joshua was wearing filthy garments and standing before the angel, who answered and spoke to those standing before him, saying, "Remove the filthy garments from him." Then to Joshua he said, "See, I have removed your iniquity from you, and will dress you with fine clothing." Then I said, "Place a clean turban on his head." So they put a pure turban on his head and clothed him with garments, while the angel of Adonai stood by. The angel of Adonai exhorted Joshua, saying, "Thus says Adonai Sabaoth, if you will walk in my ways and keep my charge, then you will judge my house and watch over my courts, and I will give you a place to walk among those standing here. Listen well, Joshua Kohen Gadol, both you and your companions seated before you, because they are men who are a sign. Behold, I will bring forth my servant the branch. Behold, the stone I have laid before Joshua is one stone with 7 facets. On it I will engrave an inscription, declares Adonai Sabaoth, that I will remove the iniquity of this land in one day. In that day, declares Adonai Sabaoth, every man will invite his neighbor to sit under the vine and under the fig tree. And then we have chapter 4, 2 olive trees and the capstone. Then the angel who had been speaking with me returned and woke me like a man who is awakened from his sleep. He asked me, "What do you see?" I replied, "Behold, I see a solid gold menorah with its bowl at the top of it, and its 7 lamps on it with 7 pipes for the lamps that are on the top of it. Also 2 olive trees are by it, one on the right side of the bowl and the other on the left side of it." Then I responded by saying to the angel speaking with me, "What are these, my lord?" The angel who spoke with me responded by asking me, "You do not know what these are?" I replied, "No, my lord." Then he responded to me by saying, "This is the word of Adonai to Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might nor by power, but by my Ruach, by my spirit, says Adonai Sabaoth. What are you, great mountain? Before Zerubbabel you will become a plain. He will bring out the capstone with shouts of grace, grace to it." And Yeshua is, it also signifies that grace. Again, the word of Adonai came to me, saying, "The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hands will also finish it. Then you will know that Adonai Sabaoth has sent me to you. For he who despises the day of small, for who despises the day of small things, these 7, which are the eyes of Adonai that run back and forth throughout the whole earth, will rejoice when they see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand." Then I responded by asking him, "What are these 2 olive trees on the right and on the left of the menorah?" Again I asked him, "What are these 2 olive branches besides the 2 golden pipes that empty the golden oil out of them?" He said to me, "You do not know what they are?" I said, "No, my lord." So he said, "These are the 2 anointed ones who are standing by the Lord of the whole earth." Yeah, we may think that those 2 anointed are Israel and the church, Jew and Gentile. That is the end of the Haftarah portion. And again, just to recap what we've gone over, there was a lot that was gone over in the Torah. We talk about the menorah and the how Aaron is commanded to raise light in the lamps of the menorah, and the tribe of Levi is initiated into the service in the sanctuary. We talk about Passover and the second Passover, because there were certain people that ended up being defiled, and they're asking, "Why should we be deprived?" And Moses asked for direction on that, and Adonai gave that instruction on on a second Passover. And we talk about Israel's journeys, the encampments, how they are to move in that formation. Um, and we also see the people are dissatisfied from the manna from heaven, and there's quail that is brought in, and also God had given them a plague because he was not happy with them. And Moses appointed 70 elders, and Adonai imparted his ruach to them, had divided that. And then we also see Miriam and Aaron speaking negatively about Moses, and Miriam is given leprosy, and Moses prays for her healing, and an entire community waits 7 days for her recovery so they can move on. They waited for her. So then in the Haftorah, it contains the vision of the golden temple menorah, whose daily kindling is discussed in the opening of the, this week's Torah. The prophecy was communicated by Zechariah shortly before the building of the second temple. The Haftorah opened with a depiction of the joy that will prevail when Adonai will return to Jerusalem, saying, "Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for behold, I will come and dwell in your midst," says Adonai. The prophet then described a scene in the heavenly court where Satan was seeking to incriminate Joshua, the first high priest, to serve in the second temple because of the soiled garments he was wearing, and Adonai himself defended Joshua the high priest. And Adonai said to Satan, he rebuked Satan and said, I chose Jerusalem, and I rebuke you. Is Joshua not a brand that was plucked from fire? And how dare you prosecute an individual who endured the hardships of exile? He raised his voice and said to those standing before him, take the filthy garments off of him. See, I have removed, and said to Joshua, I've removed your iniquity from you, and I've clad you with clean garments. Adonai proceeded to outline the rewards awaiting Joshua if he and his descendants followed Adonai's ways. And the ultimate reward, was that he had said he would bring his servant, um, the Mashiach, the shoot of David. Um, and Zechariah then described a vision of a golden seven-branch menorah, an angel interpreting the meaning of the vision, saying this is the word of Adonai to Zerubbabel, descendant of King David, one of the protagonists in the building of the second temple, not by force, not by might, but by Adonai's Ruach, says Adonai Sebaot, meaning that Zerubbabel's descendants, the Mashiach, will have no difficulty in his task. It will be as simple as lighting a menorah. And that is the end of the first segment of our Torah portion. I'm going to close this segment out in prayer, and then we're going to take a break and come back with the second portion. And then we will do the altar call and then close out this week's Shabbat service. Father God, thank you. Thank you so much for this segment of Shabbat service, and we can see how you took care of your people. We can see how when you have spoiled your people, then they start to complain about little things, and um, they're not. We can see how when they were not grateful, um, how you felt about that, and how you also felt about um, your chosen when you chose people for certain things. You know, the gossip and they're not to touch your anointed um, at all, um, and you chose Moses, who was humble, and actually dealt with Aaron and specifically Miriam, um, who were speaking gossip among each other and kind of putting Moses down. So we see that as an example of and a lesson to carry. I mean, that's no different today. So we see that as a lesson that we can take forth in today. We thank you for that, Father God. We thank you that these are things that we can incorporate in our daily life. There are people that you call to service, yet there are people that do not respect that call that you have placed on them, and that needs to happen. You have anointed certain people for certain things, and that needs to be respected because it is your will. And in order for your will to be done, it needs to also be respected. We also see in the passage how your love for Israel was then and is forever because you have a forever covenant with them. And we pray against this ugly rise of anti Semitism once again. It is so unnecessary. But we see as evil rises, evil is being called good, good is being called evil. It is unbalanced. We pray against this because we as believers, whether we're Jew or Gentile, are to be together as one family in the body of Messiah. You have you have said this in your word, and your word is faithful and true. And I pray that the eyes that have scales on them, those scales fall off and people begin to see the truth. We thank you. We thank you for Very, very powerful Torah portion and half Torah portion in the name of Yeshua.